Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Tension in Gaza has erupted once again. What was supposed to be a fragile ceasefire between Israel and Hamas has completely collapsed. Within hours of the truce breaking, the Qassam Brigades, Hamas's military wing, launched a powerful counter-offensive that has sent shockwaves through the region. Eyewitnesses describe the night sky filled with streaks of light, explosions echoing across the border, and sirens wailing deep inside southern Israel. According to early reports, multiple Israeli Defense Force units were hit in a series of surprise ambushes along Gaza's perimeter. The operation, codenamed Storm of Resistance by Al-Qassam, targeted armored convoys and lookout positions that had been massing near Khan Yunis and Rafah. Within minutes, social media was flooded with videos claiming to show Israeli tanks in flames, smoke rising from military installations, and medics rushing to treat the wounded. The Israeli military confirmed that several soldiers were killed and others injured, though independent outlets suggest the numbers may be much higher. Sources inside Gaza say that over a dozen Israeli vehicles were destroyed in just one night, including advanced Merkava tanks that were caught in the open by Welco, Ordinated Anti-Tank Missile Fire. Residents of Gaza described the moment the retaliation began a thunderous roar shaking buildings, as multiple Al-Qassam rocket salvos were launched toward Israeli border bases. Witnesses say the bombardment lasted for nearly an hour, overwhelming local defenses and cutting off communications across several Israeli forward posts. Israel immediately responded with airstrikes. The Israeli Air Force scrambled dozens of jets, targeting what they called terror infrastructure inside the strip, but as the dust settled, it became clear that the retaliation had failed to neutralize the resistance. Al-Qassam fighters re-emerged from tunnel networks, attacking newly deployed IDF reinforcements with sniper fire and improvised explosive devices. Analysts believe this escalation marks one of the most serious breakdowns in talks since the ceasefire was announced just days earlier. International mediators from Egypt and Qatar, who had worked tirelessly to broker a pause in hostilities, are now scrambling to re-establish communication between the two sides. But as of tonight, neither Israel nor Hamas appears ready to stand down. Inside Tel Aviv, air raid sirens blared again as the Iron Dome attempted to intercept a fresh wave of rockets. Israeli emergency services reported fires in industrial zones near Ashkelon and Beersheba, where several warehouses and fuel tanks were struck. Civilians across central Israel were told to stay near shelters as explosions illuminated the skyline. Meanwhile, inside Gaza, families huddled in darkness. The sound of drones and fighter jets buzzed overhead, mixed with the distant thud of outgoing rockets. Hospitals already stretched to their limits struggled to treat the wounded. Doctors Without Borders confirmed that dozens of civilians were injured as shrapnel rained down across several neighborhoods. For Hamas, this counterattack is being portrayed as a response to what they claim were repeated Israeli violations of the ceasefire, including targeted raids, arrests, and strikes on Gaza border towns. Al-Qassam released a statement declaring, "The occupation will pay for every crime it commits. Our resistance is alive and will respond to aggression with fire." Israeli officials, on the other hand, insist the strikes were purely defensive retaliation for the barrage of rockets fired earlier in the day. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who held an emergency meeting of the Security Cabinet, vowing to restore deterrence, and warning Hamas that every attack will be met with force. But for many in Israel, this new escalation has deepened frustration and fear. Families of soldiers stationed near the border say communication has been cut off for hours. Videos circulating online show burning tanks and military ambulances speeding toward makeshift field hospitals. One Israeli soldier, interviewed anonymously, admitted, "We were completely unprepared for how fast they hit us. They knew exactly where we were." The precision and timing of Al-Qassam's operation suggest weeks of preparation. Analysts point to the use of newly modified guided missiles, drones, and coordinated tunnel-based assaults that allowed militants to move undetected. Intelligence experts in Washington and London are now assessing whether Hamas has received advanced weaponry or tactical training from allied groups such as Hezbollah or Iran's Revolutionary Guards. Regional reaction has been swift. Egypt has closed the Rafah crossing, citing security concerns, while Jordan and Turkey have issued urgent appeals for de-escalation. The United Nations has called an emergency session, warning that another full-scale war in Gaza could have catastrophic humanitarian consequences. On social media, the conflict has reignited intense debate. Supporters of Israel demand tougher military action, while pro-Palestinian voices highlight the continued blockade and civilian casualties. Hashtags like #ceasefire collapse and #Gaza under fire are trending globally. Amid the chaos, ordinary people are once again caught in the crossfire. In Gaza, a father of 3 described watching from his window as missiles streaked overhead. "We thought the ceasefire meant peace," he said, "but the explosions came again. My children can't sleep." In Israel, residents of Ashdod and Erot echoed similar fears. One woman told reporters, "We ran to the shelter 3 times tonight. We don't know when it will stop." By dawn, both sides claimed victory. Al-Qassam released drone footage showing destroyed IDF vehicles and burning positions along the border. Israeli officials countered with satellite images of alleged Hamas command centers reduced to rubble. The truth, as always, lies somewhere in between, but the cost in lives and stability continues to rise. Military analysts warn that this patterned ceasefire violation retaliation is dragging both parties deeper into a cycle with no clear end. Every strike breeds another, every death fuels anger, and peace becomes a distant dream. International pressure is mounting for restraint. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken urged both sides to exercise maximum caution, while European diplomats hinted at renewed sanctions if civilian deaths continue. Yet, on the ground, the guns have not fallen silent. As night returns over Gaza and southern Israel, explosions once again light up the horizon. Air defenses track targets in the sky, while ground units brace for new attacks. The region stands on the edge, one misstep away from another full-scale war. For the families grieving tonight on both sides of the border, there are no winners. Only sorrow, rubble, and uncertainty. And as international observers watch the fragile peace unravel, the world asks the same haunting question: when will it finally end? Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.